good morning to you. This Sunday, as always, we take stock of the biggest political and policy issues in the country. The BBI super trend continues to gather pace as political leaders seemingly jostle to appear politically correct over the issue. The third BBI consultative meeting was in Mombasa, and Deputy President William Ruto's political allies attended as promised. Senate Majority Leader Kipchumba Murkomen has promised the country that his allies will support a constitutional referendum. However, the Deputy President is still criticizing the BBI forums. Are they giving Kenyans mixed signals? Meanwhile, President Uhuru Kenyatta launched a report on the state of the Kenyan judiciary, and the same old issues came up. Chief Justice David Maraga decrying budget cuts by the executive, which he says have ground operations in the judiciary to a halt. The president is still playing hardball, challenging the judiciary to live within its means and do better. We also have the lowdown from the UK-Africa Investment Summit attended this past week by 16 African countries in London, including Kenya. Britain, still one of the largest foreign investors in Kenya, and President Kenyatta signed more deals valued at 227 billion Kenya shillings. Stand by to tell us what you think about what we are talking about this Sunday. My panel is here with me to help me analyze and dissect some of these issues here. So sit back and relax. For the next 120 minutes, we shall be doing just that. Let's begin in Mombasa at the Mama Ngina waterfront, where the third BBI meeting occurred, and our senior political reporter Chris Tairo was there.
Karibu, karibu, karibu baba.
Mombasa County was the third county to host the regional BBI forum since they started, aimed at sensitizing and collecting views on the report. And the meeting was unique after politicians affiliated to Deputy President William Ruto and who have been opposing the meetings made good their threats and attended the meeting.
Baba wetu Raila Odinga, tunafurahi leo. Sisi tumefurahi leo kwa sababu ya kwanza, leo kwa pwani itakumbukwa kwa historia ya Kenya kwamba katika safari ya BBI tumeweza kuzika ile uhasama ya kusema us versus them, and Kenya will work together without any sides in this Republic of Kenya.
Tumefika hapa leo kusema tumekuwa wote katika BBI 100%. Kila mtu ana support BBI.
Ya hapa badala ya kuomba msamaha Uhuru kwamba baba alimuroga. Sasa kama baba ni mugwanga, inaponyesha ama iponyeshi?
Tuko na mambo ya historic injustices. Tukiongea maneno muwe na sisi. Na tukifika katika kipengele ya corruption, Murkomen na watu yako msikimbie, tukae tuongee mambo ya corruption paka tumalize, kwa sababu hapo ndio shida iko.
Contrary to the expectations from some politicians that Ruto allies were out to solve the meetings, they seemed to have changed tact and now support any move to amend the constitution before the 2022 general election.
Referendum or no? Referendum. Niseme asante sana Joe. Yale tumependekeza watu wa pwani, ikiwa pamoja na kuwa na prime minister na deputy prime minister, lazima Kenya iende referendum.
Mimi naomba tuwache mambo ya 2022, ndani ya mwezi 7 tuwe na referendum.
Tulisema ati hii mazungumzo ambayo yanaendelea mbele ni kujaribu kutajirisha ile pendekezo ambayo iko ndani ya ile report ya BBI. Ndio sababu tunaanza kwanza na madelegates, wanakutana, wanapitisha resolution, inasomwa kwa wananchi kwa jumla.
BBI represents the third and final liberation of the Republic of Kenya. Na hata hiyo BBI, vile Mheshimiwa Junet hapa amesema, hata mambo ya cat wrestling itaisha.
And the referendum is inevitable, lazima ifanyike to implement these matters.
Kwa sababu kila mtu sasa amekubali uwezi ukagusa chapters fulani za Constitution 2010 bila kuenda kwa mambo ya referendum.
One of the main resolutions that coastal leaders agreed upon is that a motive land issue at the coast be resolved completely.
hii mpaka tupate tusuluhu, ili wapwani waweze kumiliki ardhi yao. Maana yake wanasema kwa kimombo, at land is a factor of production. You need land to create wealth.
Tumeshukuru sana kwamba katika BBI mambo ya wamama imewekwa ndani na imetiliwa mkazo.
Wakipanua kule juu pia tuongeze kiti ya kina mama, si ndio? Pia kina mama wakuwe kule juu ndio tukue na uongozi sawa wa gender equality.
The politicians have been pushing to subject Kenyans to a referendum before the end of this year, with the main focus being reintroducing the position of a prime minister and 2 deputies. And from the coastal region, the BBI forums now move to the Mount Kenya region, with Embu and Meru County being the first counties to host the BBI forums. Chris Dairu, KTN News in Mombasa County.
My gang is here with me in studio to help me analyze and dissect some of these issues that were said there in Mombasa, among other issues. I have with me lawyer and political strategist Kipchumba Karorip, communication strategist Mark Bichachi, development and humanitarian consultant Jerotich Sei, as well as political risk analyst Dismas Mokwa. Jerotich, let me begin with you. A lot of things were said for the people of the coast region. Issues of land, historical injustices, but the politics seems still heavier than the issues. What do you think?
Well, as I've said, thank you, Ben, that this Trojan horse is galloping fast all over the country, and it's going to each and every region, promising certain things, if you read the BBI report. And what is actually seen on the stage, on the podium, is politics. So ultimately, those 10 things that Governor Kingi read on behalf of the coastal people, land, revival of industry, etc., a historical day, tourism, the blue economy, for me, none of those things will be touched by the BBI or affected in any kind of lasting way by the BBI. If you're talking about land, what happened to the land report, the Ndungu Commission? If you're talking about historical justices, what happened to the TJRC? If you're talking about the blue economy, who is it who's running a $200 million per year fishing industry, harvesting off the coast? And if you go to Kilifi, if you go to Kwale, it's fishermen in little dugouts and canoes going out to look for their octopus or their fish and so on. So whatever you're talking about, never mind also the oil block. So as far as I'm concerned, that list sounded nice. What about the destruction of economy? Look at the Black Monday protests. Look at the destruction of the economy because of the forcible use, even though that directive has more or less been rescinded, but we haven't seen it officially. Right. Look at the forcible use of the SGR to transport cargo. I mean, everything is falling apart, right. And 10 items in a memo will not resolve the problems of the people of the coast. But I will say about the BBI in Mombasa yesterday, the biggest winner was obviously Murkomen and the camp of Tanga Tanga. Because now, in boxing, I think it's called clinching. When you clinch, when you hold on to your opponent because you've been so badly battered, and then at that point, when you're stopping your opponent from battering you more, you go and hold on to your opponent. That is what Tanga Tanga has done, and kudos to them, because now this pie has to be shared with Kieleweke, Tanga Tanga, NASA, everybody, well, former NASA, ODM, and everyone who's come in. So ultimately, as I keep telling Wakenya, this has nothing absolutely to do with them.
All right. Dismas, did Tanga Tanga win? Did they come out on top of this? Where does it leave them?
Well, you need to look at it from 2 levels. What happened in Mombasa yesterday? First of all, there was color and there was substance. Now, when you look at color, the Tanga Tanga squad has been swallowed. You remember, like Jonah has a story in the Bible. It's been swallowed completely. So the entire Ruto strategy has been put on notice. And these meetings that have been referred to as erroneously as BBI, in fact, are ODM rallies. There's nothing to do with BBI in those rallies. And it's a response to what the DP has been doing for the last 2 years. You remember the DP has been campaigning for the last 2 years, and he's done very well. He's gone to every breath of Kenya, and you can feel him on the ground. And what Raila Odinga has decided to do, using these ODM meetings masquerading as BBI, is to kill the investment of over the DP. What he has done over 2 years is going to neutralize it in the next 2 months.
So was it a wise move then for the DP's allies to attend the meeting?
Well, they didn't have
hindsight.
They did not have any option. They didn't have option. They had zero option. If you don't join the train, then you're going to be left at the station. But again, now when you look at the substance, nothing comes out of that meeting. Okay. Because you have the leadership, you have 24 governors there, the leadership of the National Assembly, the leadership of the Senate, going through a point of lamentations that we should address the land issue. We're supposed to address the land issue, if not the members of the National Assembly and the Senate who are seated there. Have they come up with a new piece of legislation? Assuming TGRC doesn't work, assuming the Dungu Commission didn't work very well, have they come up with a new piece of legislation? You've got 24 governors seated there. Have they come up with any solutions? So really it was, for lack of a better word, when you look at the substance, really it was a waste of time. Because they're doing what people in civil society are supposed to be doing, coming up with solutions, or rather pointing out errors in society and coming up with solutions. Yes. The people who were in that meeting yesterday are the decision makers in Kenya. They're the policy makers in Kenya. So when you have the majority leader of the Senate saying, tunataka kufanya hivi, tunataka kufanya hivi, what am I supposed to be saying as, as Nafula in Mombasa? These are the guys who've got the yam and the knife, yes, they're crying out loudly.
All right. Mark, in a very good speech, the Senate Majority Leader, Kipchumba Murkomen, highlighted some of the issues that the coastal people care about and said, they've been covered, they've been written, a lot has been written about them, and it's time to start doing something about it. The Ndungu Commission reports, the TGRC reports, and all those things. Do you think they can be sufficiently tackled in the BBI?
Kenya has one set of leaders. They sit in parliament, they sit in the judiciary, and they sit in the executive. However, there is something in governance known as goodwill. And political goodwill is important. You know for a fact, countries like the United States, wealthy as they are, advanced as they are, have never dealt with the issues of the Red Indians and their marginalization in as far as their land issues are concerned. That issue is still of concern today. Canada and how it handled its native population is still an issue. If you go down to Australia, same issue. So these are things that we cannot say that just because they have not been dealt with, we should not try to deal with them again. Okay. And this is where I find a misnomer with Kenyan reasoning. Just because in the past things have failed does not mean you should not try again. What BBI has offered the Kenyan people is what people like Jerotich have agitated for a long time. And what do? You go on a street with a placard and you go to parliament and you say, Parliament, please do A, B, C, D. Now, for once in a very, very long time, without the pressure of war or the drums of war beating, our politicians are actually talking about the things that matter. Now, instead of going about saying, oh, it's a waste of time and you've not determined whether it's a waste of time, it's only reasonable that if the land case is something that the politicians are finally willing to talk about it, fix it, because the moment is there. You cannot say that since we tried in 2009, we should not try again. If you listen to the naysayers, you would imagine that they have a better solution than BBI. But
critics will say, Mark, that it is all academic. They're saying that because they are at the coast. That's where the meeting is at.
But no,
but it's not being given the...
if you read the report, even before the rallies, right, there are many issues that are handled there. The economy is handled there. They talk about the security of peoples, it's handled there. So let's not say it's academic, because this is the kind of thinking in this country. Before, when it was being written by professionals, we said, oh, it's in a dark room, no one knows about it, and things like that. Now it's being discussed, debated in fora even before the rally, and people are giving in the memoranda. Right. Now we are saying it's too populist. Come on, you cannot have your cake and eat it too. And this is the negativity that I want to get rid of in our country. So in any country,
the BBI will tackle those issues?
No, in any country, this is what I want to address. In any country, there are so and thorny...
also answer my question.
Yes, I am answering your question.
All right.
There are so and thorny issues. Those so and thorny issues are handled when the political momentum is on your side. So do I believe that there is a chance, and a very big chance, chance for these issues to be dealt with because politicians are interested? Of course, because who else is the decision maker?
Great.
Who else is going to do it? Civil society is going to fix the land issues at the coast? Are strikes going to fix it? Even if we strike whatever, at the end of the day, the people who will fix it are the politicians. And if the politicians are willing to listen, why would you complain about the opportunity you've been striking to have?
Jero, you seem to disagree.
You know, I think this idea of saying politicians are willing to listen and they will actually come on board to respond, and that BBI is not an you are saying it's an academic or not academic? It's not academic. Ultimately, for me, BBI's chapters are reflecting exactly what should have been happening, even including the Big Four, that Baba was saying, let's deal with BBI, alafu turudi kwa Big Four. So whether you look at development agendas put out by Jubilee, or you look at sections of the Constitution that respond to the very things that the chapters in the BBI document are talking about. At the end of the day, this BBI, the politicians who are saying we listen, if they haven't listened before, if successive regimes have not responded to this issue, let me give you an example about land. The Community Land Act that Bunge is sitting on till today, which would have dealt with a lot of issues, whether it's way-leave compensation, land ownership, by having community land registrars, is not in place. So how are these same politicians, as Dismas said, they were all there yesterday, they were also there last week in Western, and they'll be there as the road shows continue. How is it that this BBI is going to magically click something in their brains and make them start doing what we as taxpayers are paying them to do every day?
Let's listen to the lawyer in the room.
Ben, give me a minute to address the issue. We were told that a delegate was selected before yesterday from around the coast. Nobody knows how those delegates were selected. What do you mean? So do they represent the entire face of Coastal Province, or they were ODM delegates?
Good point.
And then, number two, these same politicians who are seated there, in fact, they're the problem in Kenya. They're not the solution. Yes. So you cannot be the person who creates a problem, then you purport to give a solution. This is the leadership of the National Assembly and Senate. Yes. They have powers to come up with law. Can they tell us that on the land issue in Coast Province, we come up with a piece of legislation and Kenyatta has refused to sign it?
No, Kipchumba, the issues versus the politics at the Mamangina waterfront yesterday.
Thank you, Ben. I think, first of all, looking at the last two BBI meetings before the Mamangina one, you have to give it to us and Joe, all the organizers of the event. They tried to bring up some issues. Compared to the last two, it was more political, it was more of William Ruto, that. But at least yesterday, and by the coming to that team by the Tanga members, at least some sanity was there. And you have to give it to the resolution of the people of the coast. Whether how they were selected or not, you have to at least give it to them that for the first time, a BBI meeting raised key issues. Some of those issues, although are true, border on illusions, but nevertheless, there are issues. The other thing you have to look at, Ben.
What do you mean border on illusions?
They border on illusions because, Ben, you have to understand that any time you talk about federalism in this country, some people will cringe. You have to understand that. It is an historical thing. And if you want to ask me where the tremors in the BBI team will come from, is if that push for federalism continues. That being said, I do not wish to downplay the issues of the people of Mombasa. They raise key issues, the issue of land. And I join the people who have talked here that when we go to those BBI meetings, Parliament or parliamentarian must come with clean hands. Things like the issue of community land, the issue of minimum and maximum acreage holding Act is still lying in Bunge because we know some people in this country do not want us to implement the issue of minimum and maximum land ownership issues. The other things are the issues, they talked yesterday about the issues of economy, the issues of making coconut a cash crop. You do not need a rally to do that. There are things we just need our agriculture committee to work on them. The issues of federalism and what have you, those are issues now. We can entertain those things because there are issues that borders on what brought together this nation. There are issues that even at Lancaster, they could not be agreed about. But again, Ben, what we must also discuss, in terms of the idea of federalism, I hope as we go by with this BBI business, one, we will talk about the checks and balances at the county level. They are missing. We will talk about our taxation model and revenue raising model. it is a weak model where it allows expenditure at the source. So even as we discuss all these issues, we must not lose sight of the real things that we are missing to make our constitution a better document. And then coming back, Ben, to the issues of politics and the effect of Tangatanga on that meeting.
Tell me, is Tangatanga giving mixed signals? Because yesterday the deputy president was still criticizing the BBI rallies, saying they are unnecessary.
I think when you look at it from the whole point of view, everybody everywhere has a different idea of what BBI is and how it should be approached. The deputy president, I watched his speech in Kapsigilai Cherangani, and he still stuck to the idea that let the BBI not be an us versus them document. But what the coming of Tangatanga to BBI meetings brought, at least we had people discussing solid issues. The other thing also that I would like to urge the organizers of BBI, there are people who address those events who do not need to be given a microphone. There are people who have built their political careers on confrontational politics, on name-calling and petty politics. I think we should not go there. But again, now as a future political issue that we need to focus our eyes on. The BBI might not, the document of the BBI and what have you will come, but after the end of this process, there will be new political formation.
What do you think of the moment when the Mombasa governor put your namesake, Kipchumba Murkomen, on the spot over the referendum when he finished speaking? Is that the kind of confrontational politics you're saying, or is that,
no.
Is that okay?
When I saw the clip about Joe and Murkomen and knowing the two individuals at personal level, I think it was a joke, just a stage joke. But the other thing is this: we ought not to put so much value on the referendum. The much value, Ben, should be put on the issues Kenyans should raise.
Because we're out of time.
Even as Kenyans, anytime Kenyans sit down and discuss issues, I am happy as a person because it means we are moving forward.
I don't want you to go with a heavy heart, but you've made your point. Tell me this very quickly. The fact that almost everything that we talk about the BBI, somebody somewhere can prove that it has been covered by some document, the constitution or a report, but it has not been acted. But what does that say about these issues?
Why are we acting as though we are not analysts? Look at the problems in South Sudan. Riek Machar and Salva Kiir, they are the problems. Are they also the ones on the table trying to get solutions? Yes, they are. And each peace document they come up with...
Sudan now,
I'm giving you an example. I'm giving you an example of how these things are done. So you look at Salva Kiir and Riek Machar. They started the problem. They are part of the solution now. And to answer your question on documents, how many peace treaties have they signed? And each of those treaties, don't they have things that they have in the past? Come on, let's not act as though...
And where is South Sudan today?
Can I finish? No,
South Sudan cannot be used as an example.
We cannot benchmark ourselves against South Sudan.
We don't need to go there. Kenya is a different economy. No,
if you want me to leave the show, you leave the show.
You can leave the show. You can leave the show. You can leave the show. You cannot compare Kenya and South Sudan.
You cannot take a Kenyan process. Look at the United States. I gave you an example of the United States.
It was your first example.
How many times? No, I've given you so many examples. You guys are just closing your minds. Think about the United States. Repatriation of monies to slave ownership. How many times have that been debated? How many documents do they have on health? How many documents do they have to deal with foreclosures and homes?
Calm down, man.
We cannot
calm down.
But you cannot compare.
We'll come back to talk about this. We'll finish this conversation later on. Let's take a quick commercial break here on Inside Politics here on KTN News. When we come back, we'll talk about something different. The state of the Kenyan judiciary. A report was launched this past week. Don't go too far. This is Inside Politics.